on the central bank side, does injecting more cash into the economy really solve the fundamental problem? Globally, we're seeing a record number of bankruptcies despite all the money we're printing and lending at low rates. The chief economist at the Tressis hedge fund, Daniel Lacalle, often says you can't fix a solvency problem with more liquidity. I asked him about it today.
Many citizens cannot understand why businesses are closing and bankruptcies are soaring in an environment in which central banks are injecting trillions of liquidity. The reason is the following. Those businesses are falling and those bankruptcies are being presented because sales are collapsing and costs remain high. Therefore, no amount of added liquidity, which basically means ability to borrow, is going to change the problem, the structural problem of those businesses. In fact, if some of them actually do access to more debt in order to try to surpass this situation for a while, what many find themselves is in a situation in which their debt goes through the roof, but their ability to repay it doesn't improve even when the economy recovers. So that's why it's so important to discern between liquidity injections, which basically allow governments to borrow cheaper and corporations to get cheaper access to credit, and the structural problems of small businesses and large companies as well that have to do with their solvency, which is their ability to continue to survive when the recovery in sales is not enough to cover the costs of operating.
And you tweeted out this morning that it looks like Germany will take on more debt next year. I know you're not a fan of it. You would like to see more supply side stimulus, and I would like to ask, what has been your favorite supply side stimulus that you've seen during the pandemic?
When we look at the economies that are recovering faster, the United States is surprising because not only the jobs recovery is quicker, we have seen unemployment fall to 8.4%, which is lower than what the Fed, for example, had for the entire of 2020. And the economy has been seeing upward revisions in growth. Why? Fundamentally because the measures that the government implemented throughout the crisis were directed towards allowing small businesses and families to maintain their ability to consume and their disposable income. So tax cuts and tax incentives that have allowed small businesses to survive, those that could. Obviously, there have been many that have closed, and households that have been able to pass the period in which unemployment soared while without suffering massive losses in their disposable income while they got back into the labor market. So those two elements have worked a lot better, for example, than what Germany has done, which is to massively bail out all of the businesses that it could. But what it's ended up doing is at the same time not allowing the recovery to be faster. And that again comes back to the point that we talk about all the time. It is not the same to drown in a sea of liquidity the structural problems of the economy than to allow the economy to go from bottom to the top and recover as quickly as it can. And I think that the United States so far is an example of that.
We just seem to keep seeing manifestations of these malpractices, as you always talk about. So, Daniel, appreciate your input as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.